Everyone remembers that one field trip that went horribly wrong. For some people, it's just a bus breakdown or a kid puking in the aisle. For me, it's something I still can't explain. It was junior year of high school. Our history teacher, Mr. Harlan, organized a trip to a Revolutionary War battlefield about an hour outside of town. It was supposed to be educational, patriotic, all that. But the truth? Everyone saw it as an excuse to mess around for a day. We were a group of 30 kids, loud and restless on the bus. I sat with my friend Tyler near the back. He was the kind of guy who cracked jokes to cover up his nerves. He hated anything that felt too quiet or too serious, so the idea of a battlefield gave him the creeps. The site itself was just fields and woods with a visitor center. Flat ground stretching in every direction, interrupted only by lines of cannons and worn plaques telling us which regiment fought where. The air had that heavy, still quality like before a storm, even though the sky was clear. From the start, Tyler was off. He kept glancing over his shoulder, scanning the tree line. When I asked him what was up, he muttered, "Feels like we're being watched." I laughed it off. Old battlefields always feel haunted, right? The tour guide, some skinny guy in a vest, droned about troop movements and muskets. No one was paying attention. A few kids wandered off the path. I should have noticed then that Tyler was drifting too far behind, but I didn't. It wasn't until we reached a line of old stone walls that I realized he was gone. "Ty?" I called out, no answer. I scanned the group. 30 kids became 29. I told myself he was probably messing with me, hiding somewhere to jump out. Classic Tyler, but 10 minutes passed, then 15. And when we regrouped at the visitor center for lunch, he still hadn't shown up. I told Mr. Harlan. His smile faltered, but he brushed it off. "Probably in the restroom." "Don't worry," except I checked. "No Tyler." By then my stomach was tight. I convinced 2 other kids to help me look. We retraced the trail, calling his name. The battlefield was too quiet. No birds, no insects. Just the crunch of our sneakers on dry grass, then we heard it. A laugh. Tyler's laugh. But it wasn't right. It echoed strangely, stretched out like it was being replayed from a broken speaker. We followed it to the stone wall. Beyond it, the grass gave way to woods. That's where we saw him. Tyler standing perfectly still between the trees. "His back to us, dude!" I yelled, relief flooding me. He didn't move. We climbed over the wall. The woods were dim, the air damp. I jogged up behind him, reached out to grab his shoulder, and my hand passed through him. I stumbled forward, nearly falling. My friends froze, their faces pale. Tyler flickered like static on a TV screen. His outline blurred, warped, then snapped back into focus. Slowly, his head turned. Not all the way, just enough for me to see half his face. His eyes were black. Not dark, not shadowed. Black like holes, then he smiled. Too wide and vanished, just gone. The woods were empty. We bolted. Back over the wall, across the field, straight to Mr. Harlan. We tried to explain, but the words fell apart in our mouths. He thought we were joking until he realized Tyler still wasn't back. That's when things got chaotic. Teachers panicking, calling his name, checking the visitor center again. The staff dialed the police. We were herded onto the bus, ordered to stay put. From the window, I stared at the tree line where Tyler had stood. That's when I saw him again, far away, at the edge of the woods. Standing motionless, watching the bus, I blinked and he was gone. The cops searched until dark. Dogs, flashlights, the works. They found nothing, no tracks, no scent, nothing. We rode home in silence. His seat beside me was empty. The next day, school was chaos. Reporters outside, counselors in the halls. The official story was that Tyler wandered off and got lost. But I knew what I saw. Here's the part that keeps me up at night. 2 weeks later, I got a message request on Instagram. From Tyler's account, the profile picture was black. No post, just one message, still here. Field trip never ends. I blocked it immediately, heart pounding. But sometimes, when I walk home alone at night, I hear his laugh again, echoing, stretched, and in the corner of my eye, I swear I see him standing perfectly still, half-turned, smiling that too-wide smile, watching. When I was in 8th grade, our school took us on what was supposed to be a fun autumn excursion. That's what the flyer said anyway. A pumpkin patch trip, hay rides, apple cider, corn maze, the usual. It sounded harmless, childish even. We were too old for that kind of thing. But the teachers insisted it was tradition. The farm was out in the middle of nowhere, about 45 minutes down winding back roads. Our bus rattled past rows of leafless trees and abandoned barns until it stopped at a rusty gate with a hand-painted sign, Harvester's Hollow. The place looked like every stereotypical farm attraction. Faded red barn, wagons piled with hay bales, a scarecrow propped at the entrance wearing a floppy hat. A couple of staff members in flannel shirts smiled too wide as they welcomed us off the bus. It was all very forced. The air smelled of rotting leaves and damp soil. The sky was gray, heavy with clouds. We broke off into groups for the activities. Some kids went straight to the corn maze, others to the hayride. I wandered with a couple of friends, Anna and Marcus. We weren't excited. We were just killing time. That's when we saw the scarecrows, not the one at the entrance. There were dozens scattered across the fields. Each one was different. Some tall, some short, some with faces crudely stitched from burlap sacks. Others wore masks. One had a cracked porcelain doll's face tied to its head. Another wore sunglasses and a grin painted in black tar. They weren't lined up neatly. They were placed randomly as if marking invisible paths. Anna laughed nervously. Creepy, right? Marcus poked one with a stick. The scarecrow swayed slightly but didn't fall. Guess they're just trying to be spooky for Halloween. But the longer we walked among them, the less festive it felt. Their positions didn't make sense. Some leaned forward as if straining to listen. Others were slumped, arms hanging low like they'd given up. And a few seemed angled toward us, faces bent just so, watching. I brushed it off. We wandered deeper into the field until we lost sight of the barn. That's when Marcus suggested we cut through the scarecrows to find the corn maze. We zigzagged between them, crunching over damp soil, then Anna froze. Wait, she whispered. We turned. Behind us, the scarecrow Marcus had poked was closer. Too close. I remembered it leaning at the far end of the field, 30 yards away. Now it was barely 10. Wind? Marcus muttered. There was no wind. Not even a breeze. We backed away slowly, glancing around. That's when I realized something worse. They'd shifted, not just one, all of them. Subtle changes, but unmistakable. A tilt of the head here, an outstretched arm there. None were in the exact positions I remembered. Anna grabbed my arm. Let's just go back. We hurried in what we thought was the direction of the barn. But the farther we walked, the more scarecrows there were. They seemed endless, stretching in every direction. A forest of stitched faces and stiff limbs. The sky darkened. Thunder rumbling in the distance. That's when Marcus tripped. He'd snagged his foot on something buried, a rope. He yanked it free from the dirt and we saw it led to the base of a scarecrow. Its body wasn't stuffed with straw. It was lashed together with bones. Animal bones. Maybe not all animal. The smell hit us then. Rot, sweet, thick, nauseating. Anna gagged. Marcus swore under his breath, and then the nearest scarecrow moved. Not swayed, not shifted, moved. Its arm twitched, jerky like a marionette pulled on tangled strings. The head rolled to the side until its burlap face was looking straight at us. I don't remember screaming, but I must have, because suddenly we were running, shoving through rows of them, desperate for the barn. They followed, not all at once, not in a rush, but in that same jerking, puppet-like way. Every time I glanced back, more were angled toward us. Some crawling on hands and knees, dragging themselves through the mud. The field stretched on forever. The barn never appeared. At some point, the scarecrows weren't 30 yards away anymore. They were 10, 5. Close enough for me to hear the groan of strained rope, the creak of wooden frames bending. Anna stumbled. I grabbed her hand and pulled her up, my heart slamming in my chest. Marcus was ahead of us, shouting, "There, there!" Through the haze of rain and fog, a shape appeared. The barn. We sprinted, lungs burning, mud sucking at our shoes. Behind us, the field erupted with snapping twine and crunching footsteps. We reached the barn and slammed the door shut behind us. Darkness. The smell inside was worse than outside. Sweet, rotting, suffocating. My phone flashlight cut through the gloom. We weren't alone. Dozens of figures lined the walls. Not scarecrows. Not quite. Bodies, propped upright, their heads slumped forward, skin gray and leathery. Some were bound with rope, others nailed to wooden frames. Their mouths sewn shut with black thread. Anna sobbed. Marcus swore again, louder this time, and then, slowly, the heads lifted. One by one, those dead faces turned toward us. I don't remember how we got out. My memory blurs there. Just flashes. The barn door swinging open, rain in my eyes, the three of us running until the bus appeared through the fog. We burst inside, panting, covered in mud. The rest of the class was already seated, the teachers scolding us for being late. I turned to the window as the bus pulled away. The field looked empty. No scarecrows. Just rows of dead cornstalks swaying gently in the breeze. But as we drove past the barn, I saw them. 3 scarecrows standing at the edge of the road, one tall, one short, one with a burlap head tilted slightly like it was listening. I swear on my life they were us, Anna, Marcus, and me, staring as we left. When you're in high school, most field trips blur together. Zoos, museums, boring educational experiences. By senior year, nobody cared. We were just happy to get out of class for the day. This trip was supposed to be another one of those. My psychology teacher said we were touring a historic schoolhouse in the next county, preserved from the early 1900s. I figured it'd be dusty old classrooms and lectures about how kids back then wrote on chalk slates instead of iPads. And for a while, that's exactly what it was. The bus rattled down winding back roads until we pulled up in front of the building. The schoolhouse was massive, 3 stories tall, made of weathered red brick with arched windows and ivy crawling up its sides. It didn't look abandoned, just frozen in time. Inside, the air was stale and cool, like walking into a cellar. Our guide, a woman in her 60s with gray hair pulled into a bun, led us down echoing halls lined with faded class photos. She spoke in a monotone about progressive education and architectural preservation. Everyone was half asleep. But then, in the back corridor of the first floor, I noticed something odd. A heavy steel door set into the wall. Unlike the polished wood doors of the classrooms, this one looked industrial. Thick, dented, painted a dull gray. A chain hung loosely around the handle, but the padlock was broken, and the door was cracked open just a sliver. I slowed down, falling behind the group. "What's that?" I asked the guide. She barely glanced at it. "Old maintenance access. Not part of the tour." She moved on, already droning about chalkboards in the next room, but my attention stuck to that door. I couldn't shake the feeling that it was breathing. That faint rush of cold air seeping from the crack wasn't just drafty. It was deliberate, like the building exhaling. When no one was looking, I stepped closer. The smell hit me first. Damp, metallic, earthy. Like wet soil and rust? I nudged the door wider with my foot and pale light spilled over concrete steps leading down. A tunnel. I don't know what possessed me, but I ducked inside. My sneakers thudded softly as I descended. The air grew colder, the smell stronger. Shadows swallowed the stairwell until I had to use my phone flashlight. The beam illuminated brick walls, dripping pipes overhead, and a floor coated in dust so thick it muffled my footsteps. That's when I heard it. Another set of footsteps. At first I thought it was my echo, but no. The rhythm was wrong. Mine were quick, nervous. These were slower, deliberate. Just a half-second behind me, I whipped around. My light scanned the tunnel. Empty. Still, my skin prickled. My breathing grew shallow. I turned back and kept walking, faster now, telling myself it was just sound bouncing weird in the underground passage. But the footsteps kept pace. When I stopped, they stopped. When I ran, they ran. By then I was nearly sprinting, the tunnel stretching endlessly ahead of me. Panic surged. I spun around, desperate for the stairwell, only to find it gone. The way I'd come was bricked off. My flashlight shook in my hand as I aimed it down the passage. Something moved at the edge of the light. A shadow melting into the wall. "Who's there?" My voice cracked. The tunnel seemed to breathe with me, walls damp and pulsing like veins. I could feel it. Whatever was behind me was getting closer, steps dragging in the dust. I bolted. The corridor twisted and turned, my lungs burning, the sound of pursuit growing louder. I tripped, scraping my knees, and when I scrambled up, my flashlight caught something scratched into the wall. Words, carved deep into the brick with shaky hands. "Don't look back." My chest clenched. Behind me, the footsteps stopped. Silence. Every instinct screamed to turn. But the carved warning drilled into my brain. "Don't look back. Don't." I stumbled forward blindly, sobbing until I saw it. Light. A faint square at the end of the tunnel. I sprinted, lungs tearing, and burst through into blinding brightness. into the main hallway of the school. The guide was mid-sentence, my classmates yawning around her. No one seemed to notice I'd been gone. I collapsed against the wall, gasping. My knees bled from the fall. Dust covered my clothes. Are you all right? The guide asked sharply. I got lost, I stammered. Her eyes flicked to the steel door behind me. Only now it wasn't open. It was sealed tight, chained, the padlock intact and unbroken. That door's been locked for decades, she said flatly. There's nothing down there. But I swear I can still hear it sometimes, the echo of those footsteps. Always a half-second behind. And at night, when I close my eyes, I see the words carved into the wall. Don't look back.